I'm Drew.
And I'm Tony.
And I screwed up the intro once again. Welcome back to Back for Our Future, the show that goes back to talk about our future, our past, and your future and past, maybe, depending on what age you're in. This show is dedicated to our childhood, growing up together, Tony and I. So in case someone's just falling into this show, we grew up together. We watched a lot of movies together. What inspired this is that we had a favorite childhood theater we drove by, or we went to. I drove by it recently. Although it's derelict, the shell of that place is still there, and it got us talking like, whatever happened to that vibe? And the show was born and has gone since from there. So, welcome back to the show. Thanks for hanging out with us. Tony, how are you? How's it going?
Doing much better now, man. I mean, I was been sick for the last couple of weeks and couldn't even form two or three sentences together. So I feel better now. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be talking to everybody, and hopefully we can keep doing the episodes because I didn't feel like I was gonna be able to do it for a while there.
I get it. I totally get it. So we are in this. This is kind of a summertime episode. So when this drops, yeah. And one of my things. Go ahead.
It's like we just started May, and we're gonna start May.
Right.
So we're in May right now. We just started May in 2025, and we're in May 1994. Boom, summer season right now. We're getting into it.
So I just wanted to share a memory that is a little more modern, not super modern, but a little more modern. There used to be a time in which, because Tony and I have loved the summer season, we would call each other during the summer. This is as we're adults here, folks. And we would literally almost have a summer rundown on the phone. We would talk through all the movies coming out. It's one of my favorite memories. Especially I can remember it at the Columbia place that was the apartment that we had the Survivor series with chicken wings.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a whole nother story. But like, I remember being on the phone, and we were on the phone for like an hour and a half. We go over every single movie like a draft pick. This is what it's like. Fantasy booking is what we were doing back in the day. So one thing I'm going to throw out there, and we'll just see what happens. It could be a bonus. If in the comments, anybody wants, I lost Tony he must have gotten a phone call. If in the comments, anybody wants the Tony and Drew summer draft season of movies, we will find a time to sit here and go over the big hits of this new summer coming up, this year, 2025. We will do that as a bonus. You just got to put it in the comments that you want it. And if we get enough of those, we will make an episode of which we do a full summer breakdown. Best we can. We might be behind on a few movies, but we'll be ahead, and we'll do our best summer breakdown that we can. Really, it was fun for us because it created the hype of what we were going to see in the theaters. It was kind of like we planned what movie, Anyway, we'll go through it. But here we are. Go ahead.
We're it's like you said, May's just started, and we record on a Friday here. So Thunderbolt starts today.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time we get to the next episode, I will have seen that, so we can talk about that for sure.
That's perfect. By the way, fun fact, in case you didn't know, the DP of Thunderbolts is a friend of ours. Did you know that?
Yep.
Andrew Palermo. Yeah. Andrew Palermo from Columbia, Missouri. It's a really fascinating story to see a guy who worked with us as art department. He wasn't even in camera. Set dressing this web series that Tony and I produced, go on to now become the DP of the Thunderbolts. I mean, that's an impressive journey, and I'm very proud for him. I think that is an amazing thing to see somebody, to know their career and literally see it from birth to sort of explosion. It's pretty awesome.
Talented guy. He was always talented when we worked with him.
Oh yeah,
really, really artistic and smart and knowledgeable about film and everything else. So I mean, it made sense that it happened. So good for him.
So if you have a chance, go support our friend. Go see Thunderbolts in theaters. All right, here we go. Let's kick it off. Listen, the first movie up here, I got to. This is just epic. I love this movie so much. I think we saw this together. If we didn't, I'm sure we've watched it together. This is going to be the movie that, for me, really made me appreciate a lot about Mel Gibson, but more so about now I'm blanking on his name. Who played the Incredible Bill Bixby? Is that right?
Well, Bill Bixby played the Incredible Hulk. Yeah,
but is
James
he
Garner.
not in this? James Garner. Sorry. It made me appreciate James Garner because I didn't know who he was. I just knew it was an older actor. I didn't know much of who he was. What's that?
You don't know who he is now.
Fair enough. Made me appreciate James Garner. Oh, I know why. Because I used to grow up. I remember Rockford Files. So I grew up watching pieces of Rockford. I knew it was a TV show somewhere. I grew up watching pieces of Rockford Files, and that's who ends up in this movie. So Bill Bixby, I'm sorry, is the dad in Apple Dumpling Gang. My bad. So did I get that right?
Your mind is amazing. Go on.
So anyway, here we are with the movie Maverick. If you couldn't tell, classic movie, love it. It's still one of those movies that I still fully appreciate just because of how funny it is. It's an adventure movie, and that's something that I've noticed by doing this show that we don't see as many of these. We don't see a lot of adventure movies anymore, and this is a full-blown adventure movie, meaning it has action, it has chase, but it has a lot of great moments in it to help build up to something better. So, what do you remember about Maverick, Tony?
So Maverick's kind of a cool thing. So yeah, you and I did see this together. We saw it at Carmike.
Yep.
We were both really big into Mel Gibson. Mel
Yeah.
Gibson was. Listen, I don't care what he's done, and I don't. Everyone's got their opinions, and I don't really care about that stuff. But from the mid '80s through like the first several years of 2000, Mel Gibson is the most bankable actor in Hollywood.
Yeah.
By far none. And director, A-list superstar, and this is just another big superstar vehicle for him. And the thing is, James Garner, who you didn't know much about because you didn't know his name a minute ago, but James Garner, this was his old TV show. So
Right. Right.
Maverick is the old TV show, and of course he played Brett Maverick, and he actually played the character, which now Mel Gibson's playing that character in the movie. So it was kind of a cool thing to see Garner come back, do a different character on for a movie that's based off of his character. It was kind of a neat change. So I really enjoyed the film, and of course Jodie Foster's in it, and there's a lot of comedy, and there's a lot of action, and it's all done very well. And Richard Donner's directing, and it's just got A list on top of A list on top of A list on top of A list, and it works on the top level.
I feel like it works. It's one of those things that goes back to like it's again, like you said, you have Richard Donner and Mel Gibson together, and that seems to be a pretty good formula.
Right.
Arguably, maybe not for Conspiracy Theory. Is that Donner and him?
It is, and that was a movie I didn't originally like, but I do like it no more now than I did when I first saw it.
Yeah, of course. But it is good to see these two guys together. It's a fun movie. How did it end up doing box office wise? It had to have been a smash.
Well, it did really well. I mean, and of course, back in the day, you got secondary markets anyway. But yeah, I mean, it made 183 million on a 75 million dollar budget. That's big time. And then, of course, you're you're talking about VHS and rentals and all that fun stuff and cable and made Bafo money. So it was a huge hit. And like I said, Mel Gibson was mega bankable back in this era. So this was a huge thing. I mean, everybody associated with this movie was big. I mean, the music's done by Randy Newman. It was like
Right.
Mr. Film Score, right? I mean, it's just like that's just the way this movie was, and yeah, I mean, and it's even got cool secondary characters too, like Graham Greene's in it, and James Coburn's in it, and I mean, so it's just a fun movie. I mean, really enjoyable.
Yeah, I love it. It's good stuff. And although it's a remake, it felt original because the distance between the remake or the distance between the original and this one was great enough that it did feel, we had some movies we've talked about before where they did well, but they didn't hold up quite as well. They didn't translate quite as well. This one obviously did really well on that side. Interestingly enough, 5 days later, here comes Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say something mildly controversial. I don't know if I've ever watched a Beverly Hills Cop movie in its totality. True story.
Really?
Yeah. So the first one came out, and Eddie Murphy did Raw may have come out just before that or around it, and so
All right. That makes sense.
So he was on the no-fly zone list in my house just because of how. I mean, Raw is pretty aggressive. That's a pretty, it's a pretty aggressive piece of
Right. Well,
stand-up.
the first Beverly Hills Cop, is, I mean, it's 1984. I mean, you're pretty young.
Yeah,
You're 5 or 6 years old, so
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean,
So
it's
I,
not
I
a,
did watch the new one that maybe came out during the pandemic or after the pandemic, whenever it was. The one that came, the remake, not remake, but the sequel.
or
Yeah, yeah.
mm-hmm.
So I did watch that one, and obviously I know the song because every kid on the playground knew the song, whether you saw the movie or not. We all saw it. We all knew it, and I knew Axel Foley. I knew his character. I knew a lot of the jokes from it. What was interesting to me is that like, was this Judge Reinhold's primary like vehicle for his career, the Beverly Hills Cop movies?
He had a lot of other stuff. I mean, he did like Vice Versa and things like that. So he had other things, but I mean, he, I mean, these movies were really weird because like Beverly Hills Cop, the first one, is very much like an action comedy, and there's a lot of really epic, funny stuff in it. And there's action, and it's directed by Martin Brest, who did Midnight Run. So he's really good at mixing comedy and action. And then the second movie comes out, and it's very different than the first one because it's directed by Tony Scott, who
Right.
is not really a comedic director. He is hardcore action. So, and the second one is more hardcore action. Same characters, there's some jokes and things like that, but it's really more of an action movie. And then this one comes out, and I, they get John Landis to do the movie,
Wow.
which I felt was just like really just a different approach than the first two altogether. More like the first one, I guess. Trying to get that feel with the comedy back. Um, just never really lands, unfortunately. Like I vividly remember watching this movie in Springdale Mall with my entire family. With my mom, my brother, my dad. My dad was there, and I was good with the premise of it. I liked the fact that they're in the amusement park. I thought that was kind of a cool concept. And there's a lot of gags in there, and there's a lot of fun that can be had in an amusement park when he's trying to fight villains. But the villains are never that strong in this movie like they are in the first two. And then you have no Taggart, which may not mean
Right.
anything. You don't really watch these movies, but Taggart's a huge character in the first two movies. And now you got Billy, who's Judge Reinhold, and no Taggart. And Billy's off doing some. Billy's got a new job now. It's just a really weird script, and they knew it was a weird script. And John Landis didn't like the script, and
Oh
so
wow.
and so he thought he could change it on the fly with Eddie Murphy, because Eddie likes to do that anyway. Only when he told Eddie Murphy, when they started talking about stuff, in the comedy that he wanted to bring into the movie, Eddie didn't want to do any of it because he was like, well, Axel's more mature now. So he's not going to be a wise ass, and he's not going to make all these cracks and everything else. And John Landis was like, "Oh man, we're screwed."
Oh my god.
So,
Oh my god.
so the movie is it's just weird. It's just oddly disjointed in a lot of ways. It's not even necessarily bad or anything like that, but it's different than the first two movies. And there's a scene in this movie that I liken to the movie The Chase, which I said there's the scene where they're having sex in the car,
Yeah.
and who's driving the car? We don't
Right.
know.
Right.
There's a scene that's kind of like that here, where he's on a Ferris wheel and he's trying to jump down to help somebody in another carriage, and he keeps jumping from carriage to carriage to carriage on this Ferris wheel, and it's really badly done with some green screen, and all he's doing is like wobbling around, and it's just, and you're watching this scene, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm totally taken out of the movie now by this.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's not good action. It's just bad. and and that's something you hadn't seen in the previous Beverly Hills movies. You know, so that is uh, is my biggest problem with this film. Outside of that, most of it's just some funny stuff. Hector Elizondo's in it instead of John Ashton, but so there's some funny stuff. There's a funny gag with the song that's pretty hilarious, and everything else kind of works. But that's the kind of thing. And it was a disappointment. It wasn't a flop or anything, but it was a disappointment. It didn't make as much money as they were hoping it would. But yeah, that's my take on it. I never saw the fourth one because it's Netflix, and I don't watch anything on Netflix.
Right. Yeah, you have a
I have
embargo,
no fly.
Netflix embargo.
So yeah, if it's on Netflix, I don't watch it. So there's that. So never saw
Yeah.
the fourth one.
No, I get it. I totally get it. It's fine. I mean, you could tell it was a lot of crowd pandering because they brought everybody back, and it's one of those kind of things. And Judge Reinhold's barely in it. John Ashton's barely in it, but
That's John Ashton's final movie too. John Ashton passed away after that movie.
yeah,
So yeah, that was
probably
just
probably because of Netflix.
maybe because of Netflix. They make movies all the time.
So we step out of that and we step into something. This is a juxtaposition of juxtapositions here because we're going to go from Beverly Hills Cop 3 and then we're going to step into the Flintstones.
Yes.
Right. This turns out to be an extremely enjoyable movie to me.
Yeah, good.
It was really well made.
Yes.
It knows its place. It's tongue in cheek when it needs to be tongue in cheek. It does not try and pretend. There's not a bunch of CG in it in this time frame. There's not a lot of crazy CG. So the things that work just work. There's matte paintings. There's all this kind of classic filmmaking, and frankly, John Goodman and Rick Moranis, they carry this movie so well. They carry it extremely well.
They're really
really nail it. It's really well done. It's one of the best castings you'll see in a movie. Seriously, it's really good.
It's great. I was really good with it. And I was a huge Flintstones fan growing up. Huge Flintstones. I was really excited about this movie and saw it at Carmike and thought it was really good. I I love John Goodman. Anyway, I love Rick Moranis, obviously. Elizabeth Perkins as Wilma is great.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, Rosie O'Donnell is a funny person. I probably wouldn't have cast her as Betty,
Right.
but because Betty's supposed to be pretty attractive,
Right.
and so Rosie O'Donnell as Betty wasn't my favorite casting choice, but they have Halle Berry in the movie too,
That's
so
right.
it works out. But I thought it was really well done. Like you said, it's serious where it needs to be serious, and it's funny where it needs to be funny, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. And I but the casting choices are pretty dead on. I mean,
Yeah.
Goodman
Minus
are great.
no. They're so good. Moranis and Goodman are perfect. Did it do very well in the box office? How was it received in
Oh
terms
yeah,
of?
I mean it spawned sequels and everything. Yeah, it was massive. It was like a $45 million movie, and it made huge money. So yeah, it was big, man. It was like a 342. It made like 342 million worldwide, and
Good
and
grief.
$46 million budget. Yeah, it was huge. Spawned sequels and everything else, and yeah.
But Goodman and Rick Moranis are not in the sequels, right?
No, they recast for everything that comes out after that. So
Yeah.
because it's kind of like because then they kind of do like a prequel type thing,
Oh, that's right.
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that comes out in 2000. You know.
I got
So
you.
yeah, but
So
go ahead.
interestingly enough, here we're the last 3 Fridays of May or whatever. There's a Wednesday in there, but we're closing out May, And you've got three big, like, Beverly Hills Cop is a big franchise. It may not have been the best version of it, but it's a big franchise. You have Maverick, which does really well. You have the Flintstones that does really well. And now we're rolling into June, and there's
So,
a movie that comes out in
so
this
just real quick,
window.
real quick,
Oh,
just
yeah, go
before.
ahead. Go ahead.
So this is how it used to be. So I mean, like now we were talking about what was coming out May 2nd of 2025, and that's Thunderbolts. We were talking about that film, and that's how the summer movie season is now. It starts the 1st of May. It didn't
Right.
used to do that, even though like The Crow came out here in '94, the summer season really began after May 20th. So that's why we kind of start with Maverick. That's why the biggest movie they've got coming out right now is Maverick, and then Beverly Hills Cop, and then the Flintstones, and all those movies come out like right in that like 10-day, several day window in May for Memorial Day weekend and stuff. Because that's how they used to do it. Like that Memorial Day area, that week before and into that
Yeah.
area, that's what started the summer movie season for many years.
It's fascinating because I'm not a nostalgist in the sense of like the old times were better, but I do miss the summer release schedule being more compact. And the reason I mean that is because it made them it made your just for me, it made my desire to go to the movies like every week. The fear of missing out, of not seeing the movie was much higher. Now, we can see it in the box office too, but now like if big movies are dropping all the way back in the end of April into early May, it just changes that dynamic so that your summer season, it's like the movies being released aren't in parallel with what's going on with your life as a kid. Like these are all a lot of these summer movies are what the kids want to see too. So it kind of changes that side of it. So we step into June with with two movies that are extremely opposite. Couldn't be further apart, but fantastic movies. Now, one of them, I'm pretty sure, it falls into our wheelhouse of something we love because it was a buddy film, and that's going to be The Cowboy Way.
Yes,
Now, I don't remember if we saw this together or not, but I remember we enjoyed it. Okay.
we did. So I saw this movie with the Gottfrieds, and of course that was always the thing. The Gottfrieds were always like, they'd call me up, they'd be like, "Hey, you want to go see so and so movie?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, let's go, let's go." And then it was always like we always had to play miniature golf.
Right.
So
Right.
it was miniature golf was right there. It was right next to the theater, right next to Carmike 10. So and Carmike 14. So we would always go immediately to play miniature golf, then you go to the movie, or vice versa, depending on what time the movie began. But we always did that,
Is
and
that because he was so competitive?
yeah, so there was a lot of things going on there, right? So like Mike loved to compete against me. He loved it, and he always wanted to do it. I would get calls all the time to come down to his house, play basketball. We played Nerf basketball in his living room. We played pool basketball. We played basketball in the street. We played basketball at your house a
Yeah.
couple times. Um, and we also and we played miniature golf. And we invite me to play miniature golf, and we allow like his daughters and stuff because we'd have like the whole family with us,
Yeah.
and they would like play ahead of us, and then Mike would be like, "You and I are playing," and then it was like about like I had to try to beat him. You know what I'm saying? He's a very competitive guy. He's been a very competitive guy his whole life. He was a college quarterback,
Right.
and he was also a college Division 1A collegiate head coach at
Right.
big schools like Kansas and Pittsburgh, and I was like, so he was a competitive guy, and great dude, love him to pieces. He wanted to rip my face off every time he played me in anything, and it was quite funny. Um, but we had a lot of battles, man, and it was pretty great. There's a great story. We were playing basketball on your hoop at your house,
Yeah.
but you weren't there. We were just playing there, and it was me and him, and we were on a team, and another coach had flown in from Hawaii. His name was Bob Alt. He coached at the University of Hawaii, and
Wow.
and his son was there. His son Brian Alt was there too, and they were a team. And I remember, I remember this. God, this was awful. So, uh, so Mike throws me this pass, and it's not that great of a pass, okay? And I don't handle it, and I kind of just like didn't even go after it, and it just went out of bounds. And I mean, he calls timeout, and he pulls me aside, and I mean, he just lashes on me, man, for like
Yeah.
three about like my effort, and
Oh my God.
I gotta be, I'm not that old at this point, and he's just like, dude, like if you're gonna play, he goes, I don't care if we lose, but you are gonna play hard out here. And I was like, okay, yes sir, and and I was like, I didn't have the heart to say the pass was really bad. It was a bad pass, and I didn't want to like break my back trying to get to this ball in what is essentially just a fun little 2-on-2 game at my buddy's house.
Right.
You know, but yeah, so things got different after that timeout. I took things vastly serious and went on to win the game because I was like, okay, now I have to make every shot I take because This is what I'm gonna get next time. He's kind of scared me, but I mean that's what a good coach does, right? I mean that
Yeah. Yeah.
he
For
did
sure.
exactly what he was supposed to do to me, and he got the result he was supposed to get. That's what a good coach does. He did it. So I mean, I played different after that, and we played much better. His passing became better too, so that was nice.
The thing that, excuse me, the thing about that basketball court area is it is by no means friendly. We've talked about this before. So it's in my driveway. My house was on top of a very huge hill. We've told that story. So if the ball got away from you one direction, it's going down the hill and it's gone. And it's going to take you a good 10 minutes to get this thing.
He threw the ball to me on the side where the hill is. I couldn't get to the ball. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah.
I like, dude, I'm not. And I just looked at him. I was like, I'm not chasing the ball down the hill. And then it was like, and he was like, well, yes, you are. I was like, okay, yes, sir.
The other thing is that goal is I don't remember. It was not set to any regulation. It was set to roof height.
Yeah, that's right.
The driveway, because so that water wouldn't get in the garage, the driveway actually has a very slight slope underneath the hoop. So you've got all these disadvantages. If you're shooting outside of it, the hoop might have been like 11 feet.
Yeah. Although we weren't nobody's slamming on your rim here. I
No,
mean,
no,
there
no.
were
I know that. I know that.
two old guys and two short white guys. Nobody's slamming at your house, bro.
I just mean you just have a harder angle, even from the outside. It's a longer shot to get it up because you're pushing it uphill. It's a harder shot to get up the. Anyway, yeah, that's a funny story. That is truly hilarious stuff. So to circle back, we're gonna go see the Cowboy Way. You guys acted like the two guys in the Cowboy Way in that
I,
entire scenario.
I love.
It's a,
I love
it's a good movie. I remember. I don't remember if I saw it in theaters or not, but I really. It's one of those films that it's one of those times where Kiefer Sutherland, at that point to me, had been in a bunch of different stuff, but this one was where I think I saw him as a little more ranged actor. I think in my mind, I don't know if Flatliners had come out yet or.
what you and I did double back for this movie though. I did see this with you the second time because I did see
Okay.
this. I mean, let me tell you why I know that. Because you and I had this thing where we talked about dummy scenes,
Yep.
and this has got one of the all-time dummy scenes in it. Because the train pool at the end where they get the bad guy, that is clearly a mannequin when that's pooling. And it's great, and it's the movie's wonderful, and Woody Harrelson and Kiefer Sutherland are great together, and it's
Yeah.
got Luis Guzman in it too. Um, but yeah, that's clearly a dummy scene. You and I saw that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you brought. I forgot about dummy. I mean, that was a big thing. We would track the dummy scenes. Like we were.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, we would talk about a movie with the dummy scene and just think it was the greatest thing ever, because it was so bad. Like that's what made it fun. Is it like, and I get it. There was no CGI back then, so that's all they had was a dummy to use, a mannequin. But
No,
God bless. Yeah,
no.
that's a good point.
And this movie has Luis Guzman in it, and I got to tell my Guzman story. So I was doing the movie Waiting in 2004, and Guzman and I become pretty decent friends on the set. And he had it started getting to the scene. I don't know if you've seen. I don't know how long it's been since you've seen Waiting, but there's a scene, if for people that are listening, uh, there's the scene where he is showing all the little tricks, the goat and all that stuff with the
Yeah.
chicken. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are my hands that are doing all that. Those are my hands.
Amazing.
So Guzman comes up to me, and we become friends. And one of the things that actors get to do when there's close-ups of hands and things like that, or body doubles, close-ups of body doubles and stuff, they usually try to get permission from an actor to do those things because they're close-ups, and they want the representation of that to be accurate enough, or at least look good on camera. And so Guzman nobody even asked me. Guzman just came up to me. He's like, gee, he's like, I got a cut on my hand and they want me to do the chicken and all that stuff. He goes, I don't want to do that. He's like, can you do all that stuff for me? Because I don't want to get, have a chance of getting anything in this cuts. I was like, yeah, dude, I'll go in and do it. So I suited up, did the role. There's lots of photos that Brian Pitt sends me all the time, still to this day, of me doing it. And it's pretty funny. But Guzman was awesome, man.
Yeah, he's a fun guy. He shows up and stuff, and you're in for a treat. He's one of those guys. And again, Cowboy Way is one of those movies that is a fun time. It is an enjoyable buddy film. You get some moments out of it that are just, it's good. It's a good movie. It was unique. It was an original concept, and it worked.
Really weird soundtrack too. We're not going to go over it all, but it's like it's got a lot of really popular musicians on it. But it's funny because it'll be like it's got like Travis Tritt, and then it's got Cracker, and then it's got Blind Melon, then it's got In Vogue, then it's got
Right.
INXS, and then it's got the Allman Brothers, and then it's got Bon Jovi, and it's like a really weird mix. Whereas like soundtracks usually try to stay like pop or
Yeah.
hard rock or heavy metal or rap or something like that. It's just like all over the place. So it's,
Yeah.
it's kind
It's
of cool.
How did it end up doing? Is it something that makes a dent in the summer market?
Not too big. It was kind of like one of those movies that kind of comes out, and it was a $35 million movie. It's at about 30 million, and it makes more money in the secondary markets. It's that movie. Kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit of some of those bigger movies, and that's kind of what happened a little bit. And oddly enough, every time I went to go see a movie with the Gottfrieds, the movie, Danny DeVito movie, would be playing up against it. That happened all the time. It was really weird. Like I saw Cop and a Half with the Gottfrieds, and Jack the Bear was playing up against that.
Yeah.
And we're getting ready to talk about the Renaissance Man, and that's another Danny DeVito vehicle that
We'll
opened
go
up the
right into it. Tee
day.
it up.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
opened the same day as Cowboy Way, Renaissance Man, Danny DeVito, Gregory Hines, and it's also known for being the first theatrical film role for Mark Wahlberg.
I did not know that.
That's true.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I mean it's Penny Marshall directed movie, and it didn't really do all that well. It's not a traditional. I don't feel like it's a traditional summer movie. It's a $40 million film that did like 25, so it needed
Yeah.
all those secondary markets to help make some money. But really, really great cast. I mean, it's Danny DeVito and Gregory Hines and James Remar and Cliff Robertson, Ed Begley Jr., Stacey Dash, like I said, Mark Wahlberg, Alana Ubach. I mean, it's a really cool cast. But Danny DeVito's always great, right?
Yeah, I mean he's solid as it gets. I don't have a full. I mean, I remember the name. I remember him being in it. I don't have a full recollection of this film. It's probably not something that was on my radar. Um, I don't. I just don't remember much about it at all.
Yeah, we
Uh,
go goes there to teach like basic literacy classes to
yeah.
uh, to people at this army training base,
Ah.
and
Okay.
so that's what he's doing. And it's a comedy and stuff like that. But you got these kind of military guys that are kind of outcasts that are semi illiterate, and
Yeah.
so he's trying to teach them how to read and stuff like that, and so it's kind of like coming of age thing as well a little bit.
Yeah. I kind of vaguely remember it now. It's the old fish out of water story.
Yeah.
Um. Well, unfortunately for it, it's about to get gobbled up by two of the biggest films to ever be launched in the history of film in the same week, and I don't even know. I'm going to be curious to see because we both these titles are huge, so we'll talk about them independently. But you've got City Slickers 2,
This is the second one that's coming out. So
the
this is not.
the legend. Yeah, but it's still the Legend of Curly's Gold
Yeah. No, it is. It did okay. Yeah. So City Slickers 2.
and Speed,
What's that? And
and you
Speed.
also have. I mean,
Speed's massive.
yeah. So let's talk about City Slickers first. City
Oh,
Slickers 2.
so I mean, you had. I mean, the first City Slickers is an obvious classic. It's a
Yep.
really great movie. It's really well done. I saw that one at Springdale as well. I saw this one at Springdale Mall also. Of course, Jack Palance won an Academy Award for the first one. So,
Yep.
of course, back again. They had to kind of, they made so much money and they won awards. So they got to come back for a sequel. And, like I've always said, and we've talked about it many times, comedy sequels don't ever bring the same heat as the original.
Yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
ever, with the exception of Austin Powers.
Right.
Totally different. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
But
That's definitely the outlier.
But yeah, I mean, City Slickers 2 is a decent film, but there's no Bruno Kirby, and so again, you're missing a key member of the cast. Although Daniel Stern's back, and my history of Daniel Stern, I love Daniel, and Billy Crystal and John Lovitz. John Lovitz is in this one now, and Jack Palance, and it just doesn't do nearly as well. But it's like a $40 million movie that makes about 80 million, and does plenty well. It just doesn't do nearly. The first one's a big, boffo, huge monster movie,
Yeah.
and didn't do nearly as well as that one. But I mean, the first one is like they released a $26 million movie and made $180 million.
Right.
So that was obviously a monster film. But this one's up against Speed.
Right. And the thing about Speed
And we saw this together.
is, oh yeah,
Yeah.
at any other moment, the concept of speed in today's modern aesthetic doesn't work at all, right? Because of just technology we have and all this other crap. But in this timeline, this movie is so big it becomes a phenomenon in some ways, and it becomes one of these things where I don't even think the studio probably expected it to be as big as it ends up getting, and it becomes part of pop culture. I mean, he's done some stuff, but he's not necessarily super bankable yet, right? He's not like this, but this is
So
the movie that kicks him off.
it has become just recently, especially too, with all these John
Right,
Wick films, become even
right,
more now,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
crazy. Because he's had these peaks and valleys, which is great. Most good actors do, but the but he's had that, and now he's even more bankable than he's ever been.
yeah. And then you have, is this Sandy Bullock's one of her first movies?
Yeah, it's one of her biggest movies. Obviously, she's had Demolition Man, and she's had The Vanishing and stuff like that. But this is a huge
Yeah.
movie. I mean, it wasn't supposed like you said it. I mean, it was not supposed to be a huge hit. It's a $30 million action movie that's going to bank over $350 million.
That is insane.
I mean, it just it took on a life of its own. And I remember you and I going to this film and watching it at Carmike, and I mean, it's a great movie. It's really well done, and it's got a great cast. You know, you got Keanu Reeves, you got Sandra Bullock, of course, you got Dennis Hopper, who plays the villain, and Dennis Hopper is amazing,
Dude,
and
I think
Jordan,
go ahead.
and you got Jeff Daniels in this
Yeah.
too.
Part of it is part of what makes this movie work is Dennis Hopper's performance in this.
Yeah,
Some of the way he delivers lines, it became part of it. Like heads up, hot shot. Like all those little moments that he gives, these little quips, the way he does stuff. And if you think about this film, yes, there's some big stunt scenes because you have a bus that's got to stay at 55 miles an hour or whatever it is. But the other side of this is that you have it's a lot of acting in this film because while there is action, the action is contained mostly to this bus until you get to the front half and the back half or
right.
back third. So the majority of the film is actors performing really really well, and Dennis Hopper he brings the magic in my opinion because look, I love Keanu, but Keanu is Keanu. He plays himself, and I think it's perfectly fine. Sandra Bullock in this timeline has not really become the really over the top quirky Miss Congeniality Sandra Bullock. She's still a younger leading lady style, not leading lady, but just a younger actor, and she's great. But then you have Jeff Daniels, who's established, and then really you have the biggest name in the film, in my opinion, is Dennis, and Dennis just crushes it, and it blows up. Like you said, that's 100. That's 100 times the budget on Return. That is ridiculous.
That was
You
massive.
just
10 times.
that's what I said. Booty traps 10 times.
Yeah, they'll take 100 though. They'd
Well,
love
they'll
that.
claim it. 300 million, whatever math. So yeah, that week alone, most anything is going to get swallowed up. But no, folks, because this summer is the summer of go hug yourself because we're about to come back with another bombshell.
Massive movie.
I mean, we finish up Speed that's going to go on and blow up the world, and then you turn around and you have The Lion King right behind it. Maybe Disney's biggest movie, I think. I don't know for sure, not counting Marvel stuff, but for animation, it's got to
Well,
be
I mean,
up there.
yeah, if you now include it as like one of those things where you do the adjusted for ticket price inflation whole thing that people like to do to make
Yeah,
themselves feel better about the times. I don't know what they do. I don't know why people worry about it. But anyway, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a $45 million movie that made $980 million. It's a huge number by standards. Doesn't matter what time frame it is. I mean, The
yeah,
Lion King is huge. It's a huge movie. I mean, they just released Mufasa just now. I mean, just in the
right,
last several few months.
yeah.
I mean, at the end of last year. I mean, it was yes. I mean, it's Lion King is massive. I still do the Rafiki thing with Simba when I hold it up. I still hold up my brother's dog like that,
Yeah,
Baby Hoek. I still hold up Baby Hoek, and Baby Hoek's like, "What are you doing?" But yeah, I mean, I love the Lion King. I saw this
oh,
2 or 3 times in theaters, man.
yeah. Look, it's a classic. The soundtrack, a lot of the songs by Elton John. I mean, it's nearly flawless. In fact, I was in Disney 2 weeks ago with my family, and the whole reason I bring that up is because the stress of everything going on. Yes, we're at Disney, but still, like me and my mom would just tell each other Hakuna Matata, just to remind each other, like, settle down, don't let this stress get to you, just enjoy what it is. Like it's one of those things again, cultural, forever burned into it. Um, it's the first one or not the first one, maybe it was the second one they did of the live action adaptation, which I'm not really into. I think the magic of The Lion King is the fact that it is animated. I don't really want real animals doing that. It's kind of weird, but it was still super solid, and it's a great freaking movie. Everybody knows it. You've heard it. You've experienced it one way, shape, or form. It's undeniable with $900 million. take. It's undeniable that you've experienced the Lion King in one way, shape, or another.
And all the great voices are here. You know, it's like Matthew Broderick and James Earl Jones and Jeremy Irons and Nathan Lane and Robert Guillaume and Rowan Atkinson and Whoopi Goldberg and Cheech Marin and Jonathan Taylor Thomas and they got everybody. You know,
Yeah.
it's in a sign of the times as well with a lot of those names. And I mean, yeah, I mean they got music by Hans Zimmer and they got the whole deal and big Boffo smash hit and I mean, if you haven't seen The Lion King by now, you're kind of under a rock. So check it
Right.
out. You know,
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point.
get, get with it. I mean, because at some point you gotta kind of wonder what's going on with your life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like it's it's 1994, and I can understand if you missed it in 1994. But we have Lion King coming out right now.
Right.
They're out right now, so catch up. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you've got time in your life to do this. Do it. Nobody's that busy, man. Turn it on.
I love your motivational speech. That
Yeah,
is the greatest thing you've done all day.
I'm just telling you. Like I hear this stuff all the time from people. I hear it from them all the time, and people are like, "I've never seen that movie. I've never seen that movie." Well, there's 800,000 streaming services now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and there's eBay and there's thrift stores. Get with it. Like pay a buck and go find it. It's not that
Yeah.
hard. I mean, it's everybody's got all these streaming services. Well, watch the damn movies on them. They're good. Some of them are good.
Are you
That's what
good
people.
now?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good now. I didn't get enough sleep last night. I don't think, but I'm okay.
I love it. I love Rowdy Tony. So, so we're getting into mid June here, and the reason I bring this up is because again, Maverick, Beverly Hills Cop 3, The Flintstones, Cowboy Way, Renaissance Man don't necessarily matter much. City Slickers 2, Speed, big, huge movie. The Lion King, as Tony has just eloquently put, maybe the biggest movie to come out that year for sure, because it ends up on the top 10 list of movies, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of box office. Then two smaller movies come out. And I say smaller because they're not necessarily smaller movies, but when you have Speed and The Lion King in front of you, it's not that all hope is lost, but you got an uphill battle, and you get Getting Even with Dad, and you get Wolf. Now, let's start with Getting Even with Dad.
Yeah.
I don't remember this movie. I'm sure I've seen it. What is that movie?
So one of the cool things about movie theaters back in the day was they weren't afraid to release a wide array of films. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays they're like, if it's not a $200 million movie, we don't want it in there. You know,
Right.
and it's kind of sad, but they've been doing better lately about getting movies that are not as big into the theaters now. They're back doing that, but this was the type of movie that they wouldn't put in theaters probably right now. And it's a comedy film starring Macaulay Culkin and Ted Danson, and it's the whole concept of the estranged son, and that kind of that kind of mix, right? And Macaulay Culkin is they're still trying to feast off of his Home Alone days, and he's got 1 year left of it, and that's 1994. He's going to release two or three movies in 1994. They're all going to do pretty well. They're not going to do Home Alone well, but
Right.
they're going to do pretty well. And I'll just be upfront. I'll watch anything that has Ted Danson in it. And I have watched anything that has Ted Danson in it.
Yeah.
Okay. I love Ted Danson. I used to like him as in Sam Malone and Cheers, and I just watched Becker this morning. I was
Right.
up till 7:30 in the morning watching Becker, you know? And so yeah, I mean Ted's great. One of my favorites, probably. I mean, I was reading something a couple days ago about Steve Gutenberg wanting to do another 3 men and a lady,
Oh boy.
call it 3 Men and a Bride. I would
Ah,
watch. I would watch that in a
yeah.
heartbeat. As long as it's not on Netflix, I'd watch it for sure. You
What
know,
would you do if it was on Netflix?
I,
How are you
I,
gonna follow Ted?
I wouldn't watch it. The only time I watch anything that comes from Netflix, because I'm in the DGA, the only time I watch anything that comes from Netflix is if they send me a screener, and because I do some of the award stuff, so I vote in some of the award stuff. The so if they send me a screener and I watch it, I that's fine. I didn't have to buy their crappy service or give them a click on their crappy service or do anything to help them at all in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
But I will watch. If they send me a screener, that's it. If they don't do that. And I don't think they like me very much because they used to send me all kinds of screeners from their crappy service, and now they don't send me any. So I don't. I think Netflix is hip to me. That's fine. No, that's fine. They can have their junky movies. They're all trash, and I wouldn't watch it on there. No, I wouldn't watch it. Is that a good answer for you?
Yeah, that's good enough. Are you setting this up about Ted Danson to say that this movie sucks?
No, it's not. It's a good movie. It's actually pretty funny. Uh, it's directed by Howard Deutsch, who's married to Leah Thompson,
Hmm.
and I always liked Howard Deutsch, and yeah, it's a good cast too. I mean, again, Hector Elizondo's back, and Glenna Headley, and Ted Danson, and Macaulay Culkin, and it did pretty well. It did like 55 million on 30, and so that's pretty solid. And listen, man, I don't think there's ever been a movie or a TV show that has Ted Danson that I didn't like. He's pretty thumbs up for me.
Oh, I love him. My favorite of his stuff is when he's on Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's my favorite
Oh,
stuff.
brilliant. He's brilliant there. Yeah,
Yeah, he's great.
they're all brilliant there. But yeah, he's awesome there.
It's interesting that this movie is sort of that vibe, just because in this time frame, Macaulay Culkin is going through that whole separation with his parents. If I'm not mistaken, this starts to tee up
Yeah,
like his
yeah.
dad is not a good guy. His dad does not treat him well.
And this is
Yeah,
his last. I mean, like '94 is the last year for Macaulay Culkin. He's gonna have three movies. Like he's gonna have three movies. He's gonna have Getting Even with Dad. He's gonna have The Page Master, which is kind of a live action with animation, and then
yep,
he's gonna have Richie Rich,
right.
and that's gonna be at the very end of 1994, and then we're not gonna see him again for 9 years until shows up in Party Monster
Good
in
grief!
his 20s. Yeah, so
Wow.
that then he's not really ever been much of a theatrical guy ever since these movies in
Yeah.
'90. So yeah, I mean that's kind of where he ends up. So, um, but he's still huge in the '90s.
Well, he's got that, and that movie does okay. Like you said, it makes its budget plus. Maybe we don't know what the marketing budget back then, but it does all right. And then you also have Wolf.
Yeah,
Now, this is an interesting maneuver for this actor for him to step into this role, right? Because it's not very much a traditional role for him. This is the one with Jack Nicholson, correct?
is this the one with Jack Nicholson? This is one of the last movies I think I saw in theaters. Not the last one, but one of the last ones I saw in theaters with Jonathan Green.
Okay. Because he has terrible taste in movies, or
No, because he's not far off from moving.
yeah, 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 down to Florida.
Uh, yeah, I think he's moving to Florida, right? I don't know
Yeah,
the
yeah,
city. Oh, you moved to Tampa, right? Right away.
yep,
Is it
He
Tampa?
moves to Tampa.
Yeah,
Yep,
he's moved several places over
yeah.
the course of time now. But I mean, yeah. So I think he does move to Tampa in like '95, I think, somewhere in that
Yeah,
range.
somewhere around there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But we haven't gotten there yet. But this is one of the movies that we see together. Jack Nicholson, Michelle Pfeiffer, James Spader, Christopher Plummer, Kate Nelligan, directed by Mike Nichols. I mean, that doesn't get much more A-list than that, you know. I mean, it's it, it's it's a pretty fun movie. I mean, Jack Nicholson can do just about anything, and
He
especially in this
can.
time. Yeah,
It's actually one of the most interesting werewolf movies. I, I say that to say like the werewolf concept is I appreciate American and whatever it is, Werewolf in Paris and all that
right.
all that stuff, because it has those are good because of the comedy and some of the creature effects, and then you have the Howling films. I get it, but this one's good because it somehow makes it not just a grotesque sort of. It has like this really sort of deep undercut vibe to it. And Michelle Pfeiffer is very sexy in this. And so you have this whole very much like, you have this like really sexual allure about her. And it just, it's a much different take on it. I see why, like now knowing it's Nichols that did it, it makes more sense. But like, it's a much more adult approach to a werewolf movie and is not like a traditional scare. You know, I don't even know if this was rated R. It might have been PG-13. Is that right? Do you know?
Nose radar.
Okay. So, but it's still much more like it's not necessarily. I wouldn't classify this as a horror film as much as I would like a fantasy film because the elements that are in it are much more on that side of it. Um, it's a good. I think it's a really good werewolf movie. I think it's just a very different werewolf movie, and I think that's why I liked it because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was really entertaining, and it wasn't a horror film. At least to me, it wasn't a horror film.
Yeah, it's got kind of a. You're right because it tells a very different story than a lot of the traditional werewolf movies, and it's funny because the werewolf movies are always a little different than some of them. I guess vampire movies do it too, to an extent, but I mean, I've seen recently like Wolfman and stuff like that, and it's a concept that can kind of be told from any story.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, um, because like the new one's basically about a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool, and then this is just a different take on it altogether, and I really enjoyed it. But I mean, Jack Nicholson can. I watch him do anything.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
great. He's really good in this, and it's interesting because you end up with like this battle, and between him and James Spader, which is really fun. Um, I'm just to me, it's one of those movies that like it almost feels like a comic book movie. And when I mean comic book, I don't mean like a Marvel style. I mean like more of the 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 darker sort of graphic novel. It feels more like a graphic novel than it does the traditional horror sort of tropes of that because it has like these themes of maturity and this other stuff, and it's really good. It's actually a fairly interesting movie. Um, it kind of makes me want to go back and watch it because I haven't seen it in a while, and I just remember I really enjoyed this a lot. I mean, I've enjoyed almost every movie we've talked about, but this one was on is something that sticks in my brain. Of now that you've brought it up, kind of brings it
now,
full circle.
budget wise, it was a little bit bigger than most of the movies we've talked about so far because it was like a $70 million film.
Ooh,
And it had some stuff, some stuff, transformation things and things like that. So I mean, 70 million, makes some sense. It made about 140 million, so
oh, it did
worldwide,
good.
not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, if you're making that kind of money and you have secondary markets back in the '90s, you're doing fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the marketing costs were nowhere near what they are now. That's for sure.
And that's what I try to tell people too. I mean, nowadays you really kind of got to get double your budget, for sure. You got to get that back for the most part because you just aren't going to get anything. I mean, you just there are some cable money and there's still some there's still some DVD money out there. It's not as prominent, but there's still some of that out there. And then there's on demand, still a big thing, but the streamers don't pay anything. So
No, they're terrible. No, they're all terrible. I mean, we've both been through this. We've had our own movies on streaming, Netflix being one of them, and not a great experience from the filmmaker's perspective. It's a terrible experience.
nothing with
Um,
Netflix great experience.
well, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. You have a mention here, and it's funny. I was talking about Laugh-In, and I don't think it's because this particular person passed away, but I was talking about Laugh-In. I don't remember who it was. It was on, maybe it was on my trip with my parents because they went with us to Disney, and we were talking about old comedy stuff because my youngest has started showing a propensity for basically making her own skits and almost doing stand up. And so we were talking about Laughing and some of the stuff that was from that, just old stuff. So you had something you wanted to mention about it, so I'll let you carry it from there. Go ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. We just lost Ruth Boozy today at the age of 88, and I know she had a lot of problems for a while with Alzheimer's, and I think that may be what ended up happening. I don't like speculate on stuff like that, but I talked to her. She used to be really prominent on Twitter when it was called Twitter,
Yeah.
and so she used to be really prominent on there. So she would talk to people all the time on there. So I was around the time you and I were doing our movies in Alabama, um, Phoenix Rises and all those films. Um, she would talk to me on Twitter
Oh,
quite a lot,
amazing.
and she's great and she's hilarious. And of course, she was in a prominent figure on Laugh-In back in the 60s and 70s, and of course she just did tons of voiceover work over the years, and she did. I mean, she was on the Carol Burnett show at different times, and she did several spots in the Love Boat. And I mean, she's all over the place. Just an extremely funny lady, a great comedian. Uh, could do almost any voice there was, and that's why she did so much voiceover work. And she passed away at the age of 88 today. So it's kind of sad to lose another great one.
Yeah, she was fantastic. That's a bummer. Um, it is, we're unfortunately we're getting to that point both in where a lot of those that generation is getting up there in age. So we're going to see other stuff. Some people too soon. Some people, they got a pretty good run. Um, but that it is funny if you've not gone back.
We're not that far behind.
I know we're not. That's why I'm saying it, right? But we're mid 40s. Remember, we define mid 40s as whatever we want.
Yes.
If you've never watched anything from Laugh-In, because we do have some younger viewers, I do encourage you to just pop on YouTube. I'm sure there's clips up there somewhere. Go watch some of that. It's that kind of comedy is hard to come by. It's like really early SNL too. Like this is pure straight up comedy. It's all about timing. It's all about gags. Again, Carol Burnett shows the same thing. If the funniest stuff is watching, I forget the two actors' names, when they crack each other up. When those two guys, all they're doing is trying to make the other person laugh in the middle of this scene, and they do it all the time. There's a dentist one it's the Dorf guy. Why can't I think of his name? Dorf on Golf. What's that guy's name?
The cool thing about Laughing is it was Saturday Night Live before Saturday Night
Right,
Live. I
right.
mean, it came before Saturday Night Live by several years, and was done pretty much before Saturday Night Live came on. But but it is really amazing. All the stuff on there is, I mean, Goldie Hawn cut her teeth there. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like got a lot of big names, and I mean, younger people may not care about some of those people, but they're some pretty epic group of people that were on those shows. So you gotta give them their props and watch their stuff for sure.
yeah. It's worth a little experiment. So anything out of these movies? Is you got a Tony's pick for any of this stuff? These are all heavy hitters. Obviously, the
I
the
literally
Lion King.
I literally just lashed out on everybody for on the Lion King, and I'm pretty sure most. But there's maybe one person who didn't, and that person's now going to feel like crap. So that's okay. They deserve it. Um, but I mean, a lot of these are pretty big movies. So I'm going to say that you should check out The Cowboy Way,
There you go.
which I think is a funny movie, and Woody Harrelson is amazing, and Kiefer Sutherland's amazing, and I think you're going to get some laughs. And it's two cowboys in the city, and they go through all this hijinks, and I think it's a fun film, and don't take it seriously.
Right.
You know,
And look for the dummy scene.
you can't miss the dummy scene. It's not possible to miss it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good call. The only thing I'd throw out there is if you've never seen Maverick, it is actually a really fun adventure movie, and it's family friendly. It's a PG movie, I believe. Um, it's fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, Maverick's great. As long as people got to get out of their own way though, because everyone's like, so you got some people down on Mel Gibson. You know, he said some things while he was drunk. I mean, I can't even get mad at him for that because I mean, I've done that. I've
Yeah,
said things drunk. You know, if you have
I've
too. Every
I've said things on this show.
well, drunk. You know,
Well,
so you got.
all right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back next episode,
Yo,
still in 1994, with more fun stuff. Again, thanks for hanging out, Tony. Last words, all yours, pal.
peace. Have a great weekend. Take care of each other. Watch The Lion King. Have a good night.
Oh my god.